Mr. R. Vidudalai, Senior Advocate, Chennai.
His Excellency, the President of Mauritius, Mr. Justice Bhaskaran, Mr. Justice Govindarajan, Mr. Justice Ramesh, Senior Advocate R. Gandhi, R. Tyagarajan, and Mr. Ravindran Advocate from Singapore. I deem it a great privilege to be in the midst of this August Assembly in a seminar organized by my learned friend, Dr. V.R.S. Sampath. The topic of today's discussion is law and economic development. We all know, as John Milton reveals, we lost the paradise because we disobeyed the law of the Lord. Adam and Eve ate the prohibited fruit, and then we are sent to the earth. Naturally, if you want to make paradise on earth, you have to obey the law and develop the economy in synchronization with the law. Law enforces discipline, and planning promotes development. So law and development, economic development, are twin brothers. You can't imagine one without the other. Now, when you talk about law and development, there are two aspects of the matter. One is positive actions and positive laws. The other one is affirmative laws. Positive laws are laws which create conducive atmosphere for economic development. Say, for example, ease of doing business, free from corruption. Whenever a person wants to start a business, he must feel very comfortable. The ambience in the country must be good. Then only the dream of Make in India can become a reality. Positive actions clear the field for the entrepreneurs and investors to come to India and develop the economy. Affirmative actions or laws which conceive of economic ideas and implement the same by proactive legislations. For example, the New Companies Act of 2013, which had been modeled on international law, as well as the Arbitration and Conciliation Act of 1996, which is virtually based on global consensus, based on United Nations Commission on International Trade Laws, which synchronize the arbitration laws in the Western countries, Europe, and Southeast Asian countries. They have created an atmosphere where commercial disputes can come to an early conclusion and give confidence to the investors from foreign country as well as domestic investors so that they can come to India and indulge in developmental activities without fear or favor, corruption, or any other illegal activity. In the 1990s, tracing the economic development of the country, in the 1990s, our country was open to globalization. As Supreme Court puts it, the liberalization, privatization, and globalization of the early 90s acted as the LPG of the economic growth of our country. The positive laws were enacted and global investors were attracted to the country because of the various legislations that were promulgated or enacted in India. Say, for example, the Stock Exchange Bureau of India, SEBI Act of 1992, regulated the stock and security market, giving confidence to the investors, domestic and foreign, as a result of which FDI, FPI, and FFI, namely foreign direct investments, foreign private investments, and foreign institutional investments, grew aplenty. 1990s witnessed a phenomenal growth in Indian economy because of the various legislations that were enacted in our country, like the SEBI Act. And the Lokpal Act and Lokayukta Act provided a forum where even the public officials were made accountable. So nobody is free from actions or the shackles of the law. Everyone was made to obey the law so that the development of the country was kept uppermost in our mind. After the SEBI Act, for every economic development, financial resources are very vital. Country's economy or economic development depends on mobilization of financial resources, whether it is domestic or foreign. Therefore, investments have to be encouraged, promoted, which necessarily meant financial mobilization should be made an easy task. The Parliament enacted the Recovery of Debts Due to Banks and Financial Institutions Act, as well as Securitization Act, so as to enable the recovery of the loans at a faster pace, so that it can be granted to the new entrepreneurs who are eyeing for new ventures with a financially viable project. Therefore, Debt Recovery Act and Securitization Act, along with the SEBI Act, promoted the economic development to a very great extent. As a result of which, the Indian economy was growing consistently at a rate of 9+. The GDP was registering 9% and above growth rate. Then we come to the 21st century. The last decade of the previous millennium and the 2 decades of the present millennium are significant in the economic development of our country. After the SEBI Act and the Companies Act, as well as the Debt Recovery Act and the Securitization Act, the other legislations which are very important and significant and which promoted economic development to a very great extent is the Information Technology Act and Right to Information Act. These acts, through the Indian economy to global investors on the one hand, and imparted transparency and ease of doing business on the other. Right to Information Act made every information public and accessible to the members of the public, because of which domestic investors as well as foreign investors took confidence in India, and the commercial community of India was willing to invest in various multifarious activities. The information technology, the growth of information technology brought India to the forefront. Ultimately, India became the information technology leader of the world. If you take even Tamil Nadu, an analysis of the recent economic data published by the state of Tamil Nadu shows 45% of the GSDB, that is gross state domestic product, is derived from service sector, and 34% is derived from manufacturing sector, and only 21% is derived from the agricultural sector. We in Tamil Nadu know, as a matter of fact, it is to the public knowledge of everybody that the information technology revolution had enriched the state of Tamil Nadu in particular and the entire South India as a whole. Bangalore or Hyderabad or Chennai, call whatever place, they are the international hub of the world. I'm informed by one of my friends that 1/3 of the employees of Microsoft are Indians, and 75% of the employees are from Tamil Nadu. And I can tell you, I can even ask most of you present here, at least one member of the family would be employed somewhere in USA or Canada or England or Scotland or Singapore or Malaysia. I was just telling my friend Mr. Ravindran that my daughter and son-in-law, my son-in-law who is an MTech and my daughter who is a Bachelor of Engineering in Computer Science, both of them are employed in Singapore for the past 8 years and more. Not only employed, they are virtually settled down in Singapore. My grandchildren are also studying in Singapore. Why I am saying this? This globalization has become possible because of the economic policy and the legislations that have been brought in by the government in the early 90s, and the fruition is now coming here. Take, for example, there was a global meltdown after consequent upon the America's economic downfall in 2008. And the entire global economy was in doldrums. Now there is some sort of a recovery, and India has also suffered because of globalization, and the growth rate has come down from what was originally 9% now to 4% in 2014. Now it has slowly recovered. I am told that it was 6.7% in the year 2016-17, and the projected growth rate for the year 2017-18 is 7.3% as per the IMF estimates. Now, demonetization, the law relating to demonetization and the Goods and Service Act had a significant impact on the economy. Even though demonetization, in my view, as a postgraduate student in economics, was not well-timed or well-conceived, and it is an economic failure, as a monumental blunder, as our former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh would put it, Goods and Service Tax Act is a welcome measure. GST, which brings about a single point tax, a single tax, is a welcome measure, and in a way it accelerates economic growth. Unfortunately, the slabs were more numerous than what should have been. It should have been only 3 slabs. Instead, there was 8 slabs, because of which a lot of corporate communities suffered. But however, the government has woken up now to reduce it to rationalize the GST. Why I am saying, but for the Goods and Services Tax regime, economic progress would not have been possible. Therefore, law and development are always going hand in hand together. Let me refer to my written note whether I have left out any other point. That's it. To conclude, adherence to the rule of law is the safest guide to economic progress and prosperity. In this regard, India is a clear leader and a definite winner if we succeed against the surgical strike against the cancer of corruption. If only corruption sans corruption, India is a wonderful land. I would conclude by modifying the words of Robert Frost, famous quote, that the problem of India are still dark and deep. We have promises to keep, and we have years to go before we become the economic superpower of the world. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for the elaborate speech on law and economic development. May I request Dr. A. Tyagarajan, Senior Advocate, Chennai, to address the gathering?